Hi, Lindsay.
How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good. How are you feeling
Good.
today?
Good.
Yeah?
I think. Yeah. From, I guess, like last time that we met.
Well, I'm just talking in just general today. How's your day today?
Yeah, good, I'd say. I don't
Yeah.
know. I had a fun night last night, so I'm kind of like, I'm a little tired, but, and the weather is kind of, I don't know.
Kind of dreary today.
Yes.
Kind of makes your energy levels low, for sure. I understand.
Which we haven't had weather like this in a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah.
All right. How are you feeling overall since our last meeting together?
Good. I feel like our first meeting, it was like kind of like a lot at you. There's like a lot of things in my life, so
Yeah.
that's going on. So, and I feel like we didn't really. It was like the tip of the iceberg.
It was the tip of the iceberg, but I did get a lot of good things out of it. I mean, I picked out on a lot of strengths that you have and protective factors that maybe you might not think about or didn't know you had.
No, I don't think.
But definitely a few things that I was hoping to kind of go over. I know that last time you said that you kind of want to make some goals towards planning and kind of developing a plan around your life and strategies around that and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of ended off with you briefly going into some relationship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking that maybe today we could kind of get more into some of the relationships that you have in your life right now.
Sure.
I mean, it can be friendships, romantic relationships, your relationships with your family, kind of all of those. I just kind of wanted to see what that looked like for you.
Yeah, sure. So I guess like as far as like family relationships, mom and dad are still together, and then I just have an older brother.
Okay.
Growing up, I wasn't really close with any like of my mom or my dad or my brother.
Okay.
Close meaning like we didn't say like I love you a lot or like my mom was very like hugs and stuff like that, but like
so physically affectionate but maybe not so much vocally affectionate, because I think that there's a big difference between that.
Right.
Is between hugs and then actually hearing the words I love you or you did good or I'm proud of you and stuff like that.
Yeah, I shouldn't say, okay, we'll just strictly talk about my mom right now. Sure. Because
that's a great starting point.
Okay. So it wasn't like when I love you, was it like when it was said, it wasn't like on a daily basis.
Okay.
But my mom was like, I think she more said it when I was in times of like struggle or something like that. She's like, you know, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Like,
so she used it more as a comfort thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Than kind of daily.
Yeah, and I've thought about it before too. I think when she said it, because she didn't say it all the time, it was like more impactful on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some weird way.
Can you think of any specific times that really stick out for you when she said I love you?
I guess about 2 years ago when I was like just finishing up, or like closely finishing up my diploma program, I just had like, I was just so stressed out with like it ending and with all the workload and I was writing a paper and something happened, like my computer died and I ended up losing half of my paper and what I worked on.
That would be a stressful.
Well, so of course,
I can empathize with that.
Something happened to like half of my paper, and so I just like lost it. And when I get like emotional and I just cry, and so like I had called my mom, obviously, just to like, I don't know, vent. And she's like, you've come so far, I love you. And then maybe not so much her saying I love you, and then she then said to me, she's like, thank you for being you. And I was like, oh, that I will never forget that. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, why would you say that, Mom?
Yeah.
And she's just like, because you're awesome. And she's like, you keep me on my toes, and like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So it wasn't so much like I love you, but, and I think now that I'm not living at home and I moved away, and I think my mom and I have gotten so much closer.
Okay.
Well, we have.
Yeah.
In some weird way, because like I said, growing up, we weren't when I was going through those like teenage years.
Yeah.
Her and I just fought.
Yeah. It sounds like it was more when you were growing up. It was a very much a mother-daughter relationship.
It was.
In the sense that she's the mom, you're the daughter, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when you get into your adulthood, and like you said, you moved away out of home right when you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
So you were going from being a teenager living at home to being an adult living on your own.
Yeah.
Which changes your relationships in your family and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with your parents,
Mm-hmm.
because they they kind of see you more as an equal to them almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that shift in perspective on both of your parts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely been interesting, I'd say.
All right.
With my mom and our relationship and how things have grown. And
yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like you guys have a really special connection, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm just thinking about it. But like, and then when like with my dad coming into it, which I think my relationship with my dad is in a lot of ways the root of my, I don't want to say issues, but like my obstacles when dating with guys.
Okay.
So when I say that, my dad worked a shift where he would go, like, it was like from 1 p.m. to like 1 a.m. So I never.
Oh, okay.
Like after school, I never saw him.
And he was never at home at dinner or.
Yeah, during
when you went to bed.
Yeah, during during the week, and then he was there on weekends, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for a lot of years, like I kind of held like, resentment towards that. I think, like,
Okay.
And my dad is very he's very much a society would has driven the definition of a man, like not emotional, and he's like the provider for the family, and he's like the backbone, and
okay.
So he's not emotional, and like I seen my father cry twice in 25 years. And I remember my dad, I think like twice in my life, saying that he loved me. So it's like,
what were those times like for you?
When he like vocalized those things. Well, obviously it was like, oh my God, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird because I never hear it, and I know like my dad. I know that he does unconditionally, and I know that that's him, like, that he just doesn't know how to show it or say it. I know that, so, and that's what
He's a man of few words.
Yeah, oh, he really is. He really is. But when he does say, and when he does speak, it's like spot on, so purposeful, and which I love about him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because and it's funny when I'm in like these feelings of emotions or I'm having a tough time, and I will call my mom, because my mom will tell me what I think I talked about this before. My mom will tell me like what I need to hear, like, pull up your socks, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like, I will call my dad in the middle of the day because I know that he's at home and like mom's at work or whatever. So my dad's retired. So he tells me like what I want to hear, kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, take it day by day. It's okay. You're doing a good job. Like, don't get too worked up about things. Like, those kind of things, right?
It sounds like he's an encourager for you. And
he is. Both of my parents are, but in very different ways.
Yeah, so your mom kind of puts, tell me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is that your mom kind of is tough love almost, in the sense that it's like, I understand that you're upset right now, but you need to do what you need to do. Right. Whereas your dad is, don't worry, Andrea, everything will work out. Yeah. No, totally. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And sometimes I get, like, frustrated with my mom because I'm just like, because my mom, when she does those things, she puts pressure on me, and I'm like, I know, Mom, like, I don't need another person, like, harping at me. Perfect example. I don't know if we talked about this last time, about practicum.
Yeah, you mentioned that you kind of had a little bit of a practicum situation with one of the profs or
the supervisor. And so I had a meeting with the supervisor, and it didn't go well, and I just felt like I was really, like, kind of, I don't know, I got defensive or whatever. And I had spoken to my mom afterwards, and my mom was like, well, you kind of dug your own grave with that one, Andrea. So I was like, thanks, Mom. I know this already. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You weren't looking for that type of support at that time. Yeah. Yeah. You needed somebody to say, don't worry, it'll be okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
So and it was so funny because I knew she was going to say something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew it.
Yeah. You can just kind of tell that mothers are going to say certain things for sure. So I'm sensing that, as you've kind of grown up a little bit, your relationship with your dad, your relationship with your mom for sure has become more of a friendship. Would you say the same thing about your dad, like your relationship with your dad, or do you still kind of hold some of those feelings of resentment that you said you held a lot of resentment over the years?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird relationship with my dad, because when I got into high school, and then, like, I went on and like, to university in Ontario, my dad and I always kind of bonded through, like, sports, and, like, I was always really athletic, and my dad, especially, like, in the later years of my high school, he would come in and watch, like, my games, and, like, was really supportive of that. And when I was younger, like, when my dad was young, him and his dad were into snowmobile and, like, snowmobile racing and stuff like that. And it's kind of like a family thing. And so then me and my dad had bonded through, like, snowmobiling, and we'd always go snowmobiling together. And I did that with my grandfather, like, which is weird because my grandfather never took my brother on these like big extravagant trips.
But they took you.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know why. So, like, we had those things to bond over, and now I'm feeling like, like, now I'm not, like, in competitive sports anymore. Like, I'm not at home. Like, I don't have that bonding thing where I think where my brother and my dad, they can talk about hockey and, like, like, things like that. And it's like, well, I don't really take an interest in watching hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, like I said, there's been, like, specific times where my dad has said things to me, and, like, I remember those things, right?
And they stick with you.
Yeah, they totally do. They totally do.
Yeah.
Because my grandmother passed away, like, my mom's mom, who I was very close with. And she was kind of, like, very much an inspiration to me, and, like, I look at her as, like, I, want to model my life around how she lived her life, So when she had passed away, going back to my I was living in Calgary at the time, and I had flown back to Ontario, and in the midst of my mom doing like all the funeral arrangements and stuff, my dad and I went for lunch one day, and he was like, "I am so proud of you." He's like, "You went out to Calgary with a suitcase and didn't know anyone, and you stuck with it." Like my dad, that was like one of the first times that my dad really like face to face had said,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
something like that. And he's like, "You're in school," and he's just
nice.
like, "You got it together." And so and yeah, going back to those things, like they really, I hold them, right?
Hold them to your heart for sure.
I do. It's funny how. I guess with both of my parents, when they say things like that, it's rare, but it's like like I said, they're really impactful, right?
Yeah.
So.
I wonder if maybe they're more impactful because then it sort of helps you believe that you do have this kind of courage or bravery that maybe you don't always think that you have.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because what I got from our first meeting is that you are super independent, which shows that you're courageous to go out and do things like move out when you're 18, move from Ontario to Alberta, all those things, but maybe you don't necessarily think that about yourself. So if you hear it from somebody as influential as your dad and somebody as important as your dad, do you think that maybe you kind of start to actually...
Well, especially from my parents, and then it's like makes me like realize, okay, or think about, I have done a lot, and I have done, like, with the whole thing, when I moved to Calgary, I was like, that was kind of just a thought, and I was like, I'm going to move to Calgary, and then I did it, and then I was like, I'm going to go back to school, and then I did it, and then I was like, I'm going to move to Victoria, and then I did it, right? So, and to me, it's not that big, like, I don't see it as a big thing, but, like, to someone else, I could see how it's, like, you know.
Yeah.
Because I tell people that I've, like, kind of just, like, made my way out west. They're like, holy crow, like.
Oh, I know. That takes a lot of courage. I know a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be scared shitless to do that. That does take a lot of courage. So it's good that you're able to kind of think about that yourself and see that in yourself as well. Because it sounds like, I think more people see it in you than you think, maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's because it's like that's my life, and you know what I mean? Like that's what I did, and I don't see it as a big deal, right? But then, like even just like, I had a meeting with a teacher last week, and I had said that because she was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was like, "From Ontario," blah 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 blah, and she's like, "Wow, you've been here, there, everywhere. Like that's crazy." And then she went off on this, think of the knowledge that you'll have of the different provinces. And
I got the same feel. I got the feel that it was like, you're going to be so good working with immigrants. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's me, you talking, not Counselor Lindsay here.
It's okay.
That's great. It sounds like you have a really healthy and strong relationship with both of your parents, but it also sounds like it hasn't always been that way, and your relationship with them has matured as you've matured, which is very common. That's usually how your relationships with your parents kind of formulate. I'm wondering if you want to talk at all about your brother or your relationship with your brother.
Yeah, my brother and I have had a very rough relationship.
Oh, okay.
Growing up, Mark and I, he was very much like a big brother to me, in the sense that, like, he would, like, beat me up all the time, and like, not like,
Just like joking.
Yeah. Not like,
like
no.
roughhousing. Like,
yeah.
like he would do if, say, he had a little brother, you were just a little sister.
Yeah,
so,
and he would always make me be like the goalie when he was like playing street hockey and like things like that. And we would. I don't really remember like really fighting. Like we would fight like that, but like when it was like a verbal fight, that didn't happen when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, and it's funny actually, this just reminded me of a specific incident. I remember I was going into grade 9 and I was really nervous.
As you would be.
Yeah.
Going into grade 9. Yeah.
Just for, a bigger school. Like my grade school was tiny. My graduating like grade 8 class, there was like 15 of us. Like it was tiny, right?
Yeah.
So going from that to, I mean, my high school was small too, but, and like older boys and all that stuff.
Oh, and then all that comes with.
I remember
teenage girls.
And I remember like having a conversation with my brother right before going like first day of school, and Mark was like, listen, he's like, you have nothing to worry about. He's like, I know I'm your brother, but he's like, you are beautiful and you're smart and you love to play sports, and he's like, you'll be fine.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't, it was like, wasn't exactly that, but I remember having a conversation with Mark about that. It was funny. But, and then, yeah, so when I got into high school, I don't know if I was getting attention from boys, obviously, and my brother had played on the hockey team, and, and so for a while, I know that a lot of his friends, like, kind of teased him about me, like, oh, your sister's so hot, and so I think, like, he got this really, like, protective thing over me. I don't know. But it was like he would never talk to me about it. It was always like he would, I don't even know what he did or said or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then we just like had grown up, like we really grown apart, and then we would like fight, and then I mean those like you're in your teenage years and emotions, and you're going through puberty and like all of that stuff, right? So yeah, it was a weird. So and then when my brother went to university when I was in grade 11. In New Brunswick, so it wasn't like he went to university where it was like an hour away, where he was there on weekends or whatever. So, but yeah, like we would still fight, and I still don't understand why I do this when we fight. I get really emotional, and he can make me cry in like 2 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know what he does that triggers like that in me. I think for a while too, like my brother would make fun of me a lot about like he would be like, you're so stupid, and blah, blah, blah. And that I know that was just like Mark being kind of a boy, and that's what boys do.
Yeah.
But I like took it really personally because I always struggled in school. And like I was the kid that went and got extra help, and like that was me. So when my brother when he would go and say those things to me, it was like
it really stuck to you, and it really affected you.
Yeah, well, I would get really sensitive around that, and I don't know what it is. He just can like break me down and make me cry in like 2 seconds. And he did that. He did that at Christmas time. This is past Christmas.
Really? What happened there? Do you want to tell me that story?
Oh, it was something so stupid. I said this past Christmas that I was like, I'm going to cook Christmas dinner. My mom doesn't, just kind of out of a nice thing for my mom that she doesn't, you know what I mean? I'm home or whatever, and And Mark was like, oh, I'll help, like, I'll definitely help kind of thing, and, which he did not. He ended up just making, like, one dish of his, and we were fighting, like, for, like, kitchen space, and it was just something so stupid, and immediately, like, I just, like, burst into, like, tears, because I don't know why.
I wonder what that...
I know.
I wonder what that trigger is for you.
I know, because I'm not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, I do cry, but I don't... If I get into a confrontation, like, I guess... I don't know. I guess I don't really get in confrontations, like, with anyone else in my entire life like I do with my brother. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. So that could be one of the contributing factors as to why he triggers you so much?
Maybe. Because I think, you know, like with my friends or like my parents or whatever, if we have like a disagreement or whatever, it's like, you know, you just kind of talk about it and you rationalize things.
Yeah.
But me and my brother, we fight.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Very big possibility. And I mean, crying is a form of defense too. So you've said that your brother, when he says things, it really affects you and you take it really personally. So if all of a sudden you burst into tears, and that's a defense mechanism where it's like maybe he won't say those hurtful things if he sees that I'm so upset and I'm crying. Could be that.
Yeah. And he still kind of like makes fun of me for it.
Makes fun of you for crying?
Yeah. Because I don't know, my brother, I know that we're kind of jumping off. But going back to that piece
we're never jumping off.
Because it's hard because you know, your mind goes from one thing to another.
Exactly. And once you talk about things, most people, like yourself, who has a lot of inner resiliency or whatever, can hear it, and then all of a sudden your brain's just like, oh, maybe it lights up a connection. Yeah. Right? Anyways, go on.
I forgot what I was going to talk about. Oh. Yeah, something about my brother.
Something about your brother, how he makes fun of you when you start to cry.
Yeah.
Does your brother ever cry? I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know if that's a stupid question.
No, it's not. It's not. Oh, okay. Brings me back to what I was going to say.
Okay.
My brother, so I had said to you before about how with my dad not being around a lot and how that's affected me in my relationships, but not only in my relationships, I think just like how it's affected me as a person.
Yeah.
I think it's affected Mark in a different way. And so my brother, he's very arrogant and just like angry. And so I'm the crier and Mark is the...
Yeah.
And my like my mom and my dad, like we say that about Mark. Like, he's got this like temper about him kind of thing.
It sounds like to me that Mark is very defensive.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I get defensive with him, but in a different light. Like, I cry. That's my...
Yeah, he shuts down, you cry. He internalizes, you externalize.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all the same at the end of the day, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question about does my brother cry, I've seen my brother cry 4 times in my life, I think.
Kind of like your dad.
Yeah. And that was when people have passed away. And then the last time he was talking to me about his girlfriend at the time. This was just recently, back in June. Okay. We were talking about his girlfriend, who they're now broken up, and how she has affected him, and like he wasn't like sobbing, but he was crying and
had an emotional reaction to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
It is interesting.
but like very much so, my brother can put on like a very I'm a man.
Yeah.
Again, going back to that whole like
Yeah.
idea of a man or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like specifically, my brother lost his best friend in a car accident when they were 19.
Wow.
And I remember going to his wake, and my brother was a part of the, I don't know what you call it, but
pallbearer.
No, like it was at the wake that I'm thinking of. Do you know
what's a wake?
Oh, where they have it like an open casket, and people come and say like their thanks to the family, and they stand by like the body, and they talk about. Have you ever been to one? No?
Kind of, yeah.
It's a very weird thing.
It is a very weird thing. I agree.
So, anyways, yeah, and so my brother was a part of the family where you go and talk to them, kind of thing. And I remember walking in the room, and then first I was shocked because they had an open casket and he was in a car accident. So that was very like
a little traumatizing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't like.
They do wonders to dead people.
Well,
they do. They never look like what they look like when they're dead.
No. So, but yeah, I was shocked at that, and then I knew Robbie only through like my brother, right? Like I didn't. Robbie was around as my brother's friend. Like it wasn't like I was friends with Robbie too, kind of thing, right? And so the entire time I was crying, but then I was having these feelings like, why am I don't deserve to be emotional like about this. Like
I think that in death, nobody can ever judge anybody's emotions.
Right.
At the time, because you weren't crying for Robbie.
Right.
You were crying for your brother.
No, right. And so my brother was at the tail end of like the people to go through. And I went and talked to Robbie's parents, and that was just like heartbreaking. I was fine, and then I got to my brother, and he was just like shut down, like he wasn't even crying, and then I was just like, I grabbed him, and then I just like started crying, like bawling my eyes out, because I never seen my brother like that, and I expected, you know what I mean, when you go to those things like a funeral, or you're like, okay, you think about, okay, what's this gonna be like, you know what I mean, and you try to think about, okay, how do you think, I do anyways, I'm like, am I gonna cry a lot, or like,
I get really high anxiety when I go to funerals, and I have to do a lot of reflection before if I'm gonna attend a funeral or not, because I know myself,
right,
and I mean, I think I've had a lot of experience in personal funerals, so when I go to funerals that maybe I'm not necessarily so close to them, you have to really look at why you're upset and what that trigger is.
No, for you. I know. So, and that was the whole piece. Like I was thinking about it, and I was younger too. I was 17 at the time.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like thinking about what to expect from my brother, and I was expecting my brother to be like crying, a mess, and so when I got there, and I didn't. He wasn't what I was expecting him, and then that just like threw me off, and I was crying, and then I felt like, why am I crying? Mark's not even crying, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, and that I don't know. So my brother is very.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole. You are very open with your emotions, whereas your brother's very private. It sounds like, and he shuts down. And especially in public, maybe. Yeah, and I think it's another. A lot of people.
And I think he takes that from dad, like from dad. And Mark and I have had conversations about our dad, about how he's just like. his way of showing love is like he'll like fix your car for you.
Yeah.
That's his way of showing love, so to speak. And Mark and I have had conversations about like not how we hate it, but it's like I wish Dad, would like.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me because I see Mark like my dad in that sense, right? So, but just within the last, ever since I've broken up, again, we're jumping. Ever since I've broken this, we could spend 3 sessions about an ex-boyfriend. But.
Oh, okay.
Ever since I broke up with my ex, he was in my life for 10 years.
Okay.
Mark and I have gotten a lot closer.
Really? And how long ago did you and your ex break up?
It'll be 2 years. December.
Okay, so your relationship with your brother changed. Why do you think that impacted your relationship with your brother?
I think maybe before, Mark and I were not close because him nor I made an effort to be close. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
Because at a time I couldn't stand my brother, like I couldn't stand him because every time I was around him, it was just like,
yeah, he
would say something and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, I just wanted to check the time.
Yeah. 30.
36.
That's good.
That is good.
No, we don't have to. You can quit now.
I don't want to go into James. I want James to be his own.
Oh God, yeah.
Session.
Do you feel like you have enough
for case notes?
Oh, for sure. Well, are you going to use the first one or this one?
The first one.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've already written half of it based on the first one. Yeah. Because you have to use this one, don't you?
I don't think so, no. I think you can choose out of the 2 that you submit.
Oh, you can?
I thought you could. I don't know. I'm using the first one, but
I don't think you can because the first half of the assignment is based on intake and assessment, your ability to do an intake and assessment. And to like pick out client strengths and risks and challenges and all that kind of stuff. And like what kind of the goals of your therapy is going to be and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think you can't even use this one.
Oh, wow.
So if she looks at the first 40 minutes, she'll be like, "Really, you're amazing." Well, we have to submit our case notes.
Yeah.
But our case notes are literally like 1 page. I did mine from last time, and we use that like format or whatever, like either SOAP or PAPE, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 paragraphs
that
you write about.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
I know.
Because it's just brief, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I should use this, like, it's too bad we can't just like submit that, right?
I know. But then it wouldn't really make sense.
But still, though, like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Looks like we've talked for 2 hours. I write down everything.
I know.
It's good, though, because I was so... Like, mine was so easy today when I was doing it, because I was like, oh, yeah, she said this. Blah, 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 blah. Super easy. I don't need to cut you off talking about Mark here. Unless you want to keep going.
Oh, no.
No?
No. No, it's been an interesting relationship.
Your relationship with Mark has definitely changed, for sure. And I know it's even changed in the last year of me knowing you.
No, I know it has.
Yeah.
I think it's partly because of James. And I really did know or think Mark had an opinion about James, because James is in my life for so long.
Yeah.
And I knew when I first met James, Mark didn't like him because he was like a stoner, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Like a loser.
Yeah.
Well, James wasn't I shouldn't say a loser, but like, he was like the skateboard stoner, never went to class. That was James.
Yeah.
So, and then, so then when I went home or went to his place in June, Mark just like unloaded on me. And then it really was like, what the fuck? Because then Kayla, the one night that her and I just got wasted, she was just like, I hate what James did to you. And I was like, I'm like, so my brother has obviously talked to her about James and the relationship
and his opinion on what happened and how you were affected by it.
Yeah.
For sure, then. Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh. Like, I didn't think that... Not that my brother didn't care, I just didn't think that...
It mattered?
Yeah.
But I know that, like, from talking to you and stuff like that, and from being there with you and your experiences with the guys in Victoria, it kind of is like every time something happens with a guy, you always go back to James. Mm-hmm. And not back to James, so you're not going back together, but you seek out James for that comfort.
Oh, yeah.
And you also seek out your brother. Which is kind of funny how it's like...
And I think, well, before, I would always, when shit is in my life, I would go to James. But now, just in the last 6 months, I've been going to Mark.
Exactly.
Hey, that just made me have an epiphany right there.
It's true, though.
It is.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Yeah. And you really value your brother's opinion on things.
I do, because it's like, I just feel like in the last year, like, guys have been shit to me, and I have a guy in my life, my brother.
Don't worry.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And your brother was not a shitty brother, because your brother was never a shitty brother.
No, my brother was very much a brother.
Exactly. But your brother is the one guy in your life who is always going to be there for you,
I know.
no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what. No matter how bad you fuck up, no matter how, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How you think of yourself, your brother is going to be...
I know.
The one who's always
weird.
There.
I just realized that.
I know. I feel the same way about my brothers. I mean, even like last night I was talking to Eric about Tim. And we were just texting, and then automatically I'm just like, it's okay, like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And he's like, no, call me. Like, I don't want to talk on the phone. He's like, call me. And then so I call Eric, and then just like when you hear your brother say things like, well, Lindsay, if he's going to treat you like that, then beat him to the punch and, you know, whatever, because he doesn't know what he's missing if he breaks up with you. He's an idiot. You're so amazing. And it's like, holy, Eric, like, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Because you never think that your brothers feel that way about you.
No. Because
because
they don't really talk
no,
about it.
They don't really talk. They're not always like, oh, you're so amazing, blah, blah, blah. No. Because you kind of don't really think your brothers really have an opinion on you, because they kind of have to. They're your brothers. So they kind of have to just, like, automatically be there for you and love you and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like to hear your brothers say, like, you're amazing, or you don't deserve that.
No, I know.
You know, stuff like that is definitely gets to you. I for sure can relate to that.
Yeah.
Brothers are funny.
Oh, I know.
But they're also pretty amazing, because Mark flew you out to Edmonton when you were in a gutter with fucking Kevin.
Oh, I know.
Right? Like...
No, I know.
Yeah.
And like,
because if you were home that weekend when Kevin was like, where are you? Why aren't you? I'm going to fly to Edmonton, or whatever he was saying.
Yeah.
If you were in Victoria that weekend, they're like...
Oh, I know.
Yeah. It would have been a disaster, I think.
Oh, I know.
I really do.
I know.
Fuck Kevin.
Oh, I know. You know what, though? Since, like, I found... It's been a weird week, because I, like... Because remember, was it last week? Or was it this week? How I was just like, I fucking hate school, and, like, the whole practicum thing.
This week that was, yeah.
And then I found out about Kevin, and, like, I don't know, my attitude has changed, and I feel like I'm, like, in a better place now.
That's good.
I feel like that is, like, kind of, like, my closure with him. Because that is fucking karma right there. And it's, like, he's going to jail. He's going to jail.
Yeah. And not only is it karma, but it just validates his character even more.
It does. It
that
really does.
You were not a crazy psycho bitch.
I know.
I know. You were reacting to his behavior.
Yeah.
And the way he is. And this just there shows the type of person that he is.
Oh, I know. And that's
what
exactly
he is, like, in his soul, in his core.
And that's exactly it. Like, it just... And since that happened, it made me feel like I was a crazy fucking bitch.
Well, yeah, because there were so many instances where you're like, Lindsay, I'm so crazy, like, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it was like, no, you are not the one acting crazy. You were reacting to his behavior.
But you know what I mean, though?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You get so in your head, and it's like, you know, and he
like
made me feel that way,
exactly.
right?
Like we've always said, whenever something happens or a relationship ends or whatever, you automatically think it's you.
No, I know. And so that's exactly it. So, like, this just happening, it just really made me realize all of that with him wasn't about me at all.
No.
At all.
No.
And, like, it made me realize that he has some crazy mental health. Like,
yeah.
Honestly, like, he could be profiled in the 60-minute piece. Really, though. Like, thinking back on it now, he could be someone to, like, walk into a movie theater and kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back on it now.
Yeah. I know, he's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just really scares me because the entire time that, you know, he's like, oh, I'm going here, or going there, or going here. He wasn't.
Like, what was he doing?
Oh, I know. And I know for a fact, like, do you remember that weekend where I went out with Derek and then I met up with, and remember that weekend that Kevin, like, I drove Kevin to Nanaimo?
Yeah.
And, like, he was supposedly moving his friend's boat down island?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, no. He was not.
No. And the whole thing, remember about the car and him getting, like, pulled over? Maybe that's from that. And then he was, like, they detained him.
Oh, fuck, yeah, I forgot about that.
I know, this is where my mind is going now, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's from that, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick closing.
Okay.
So, Andrea, we've talked a lot about your relationships with your family and things like that. I just wanted to check in. How are you feeling with all this?
Good. It's hard. It was hard for me to, like, articulate some of the things.
Yeah.
Because it's making me think and remember things, and I find sometimes, like, that happens, I get all scatterbrained.
Yeah.
So I feel like I jump from one thing.
No, I got it a lot. I mean, I think that you made a lot of sense in a lot of the things that you were saying, so don't worry about that.
And it's a weird experience because I don't really talk about my family in this light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You've never really, like, taken this lens on your family. Yeah. So just before we close, I'm going to kind of ask what kind of goals were you thinking about, or things that you want to accomplish for maybe next time we talk? If you can think of anything.
Well, I had briefly touched on, I had a relationship with someone for 10 years, and
I have flagged that.
Yeah, and like I said, I could probably talk to you. Well, in 10 years, a lot happens, right?
Exactly.
So, I'm thinking, because there's not only that component of, like, from my dad and how I, like, live my life, kind of, this, like, the guy that I had the relationship with, he has obviously deeply impacted my life.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
So yeah.
Okay.
Maybe go.
So hoping to maybe kind of dig a little bit into your relationship with James and how it's kind of affected you, and kind of tie it back with your dad and things that have happened.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that sounds awesome. Okay. All right. Goodbye then.
Thank you.
49 minutes.